Alright, so today we're gonna be looking at characters. I didn't get enough footage to actually make an edited video, so this is just gonna be me talking and explaining it. In the video that I'm playing over right now, I looked at all the characters and called them Bruiser, Mage, whatever. So that's primarily what I will explain it today. At the end of the video, I will put a simple sentence for every single type of role that will make you remember what they're for. So first I want to start with physical versus energy damage. In Paragon there are two types of damage, physical and energy. Abilities will usually gain strength on one of them. For example, Rampage Rock Throw will deal more damage the more physical damage he has, while Gideon's Meteor will deal more damage the more energy damage he has. You can always see on the ability whether it deals physical damage or energy damage. One thing that's important to know in Paragon is that physical damage doesn't always determine the strength of your standard attacks. Paragon, the standard attack characters are either physical or energy, and the scale thereof. I've seen a lot of people go physical damage Murdoch and then get confused why they didn't do it well. And in one of my videos, I hadn't noticed Steel's chainsaw when energy damage Steel, which gave me no damage. So, but this basically means that you should never underestimate a mage just because he doesn't have any attack damage. The difference is scaling though. So imagine Gideon, he might gain half a damage for every he might get 50% of his damage as or 50% of his energy damage as pure damage, while somebody like Murdoch might gain 0.8 or 0.9. So obviously the carries scale harder. Um, which leads me to the carries. In many roles, it's often called AD carry. That's the people who get their damage from standard attacks. However, as I said before, Murdoch all scales on energy damage, but he's also a standard attack character, so I'll just call them carries. The point of a carry is to deal a lot of damage through standard attacks to the enemy team. The carries are usually very fragile without a lot of health, so their role is to stay behind their allies while killing the enemies. These characters right now will be things like Twin Blast, Sparrow, or Murdoch. Um, Howitzer is also somewhat a carry right now, but he's somewhere in between a carry and a mage, and I'm gonna put him as a mage. Mages get the majority of damage from abilities. So far, all mages are energy based. They're also somewhat fragile. However, they tend to deal a lot of damage to a lot of enemies at once. For example, Gideon Meteor will deal damage to everybody caught in the middle. So while carriers have to focus on dealing single enemies, the mage will often focus on dealing damage to multiple enemies at once. Characters I would call a mage would be Gideon, Gadget, and Howitzer. Sorry. Then we have the tank. The tanks are the people who are in the middle of a fight making sure the enemies are hitting them as much as possible. Tanks are the beefy characters with a ton of health and defenses, making sure they can take a beating. The main priority of the tank is to defend the more fragile characters in the team, and usually have stuns or other forms of crowd control to do so. The tanks of the game right now are Rampage and Steel. Then we have the support role. The support role also helps the team, but they need to do it from the back. Support roles' job is to keep enemies from escaping and prevent the allies from dying. For example, slowing the enemy or boosting the movement speed of an ally, offering a shield of an ally at just the right time so they don't die. Those are all things you'd call support. Right now, there's no healers in the game, and the only support is Miriel, who focus extremely much on shields, movement speed buffs, and debuffs. Gadget can also be said to be a support since she has a movement speed debuff, but she's basically focused on AoE damage. So I will just consider her mage. Then we have Assassin. The Assassin is a role which relies on dealing damage in a single burst and doing so with the element of surprise. Their role is to sneak up on the enemies and kill the first, most fragile character and then quickly get out of the fight again. Right now we only have Kalari, which would fill that role. She has an invisibility that allows her to sneak on an enemy and an ult that deals a ton of damage when she hits an enemy. However, once she's used that combo, she won't deal any damage basically, and she'll die extremely quickly. Then we have what is called a Bruiser. Um, it's called a Bruiser or Fighter in most games. It's a melee class. Uh, there's not quite tanks, but not quite assassins. They focus on being sturdy enough to fight one or two characters at once, while at the same time have enough damage to kill them. Right now, Feng Mao and Grux should be those role. Right now, Grux is a bit of he's a bit of a weird spot. Like people just go in full assassin, but he's supposed to be a bruiser. They're excellent in team fights since they can go in the middle of enemies and cause chaos. But however, they should be careful not to just overextend and die. Um, so that was basically it. So I will sum it up in a short sentence for every character. Assassin, get in, get a kill, get out. Bruiser, duels to the death. Carry, as hard-hitting as a cannon, as fragile as glass. Mage, a lot of hurt spread over a wide area. Support, buffs allies, debuffs enemies. Tank, using skills and body to defend their allies. So now you should have an idea of the basic class roles in Paragon. They're a bit fluid between what role is what, but if people say we need a tank, then you know that, what was that again? And you can look up, alright, the tank is the one who has to get a lot of health, a lot of defense. And, oh, we need a mage, oh, who was that? Oh, it's the other one who used the abilities. And yeah, this is primarily for you new guys. I hope you're gonna enjoy Paragon. And yeah, I hope this guide helped you. Next time I will look at the cards and deck builder. Um, if you have any comments, feel or any questions, feel free to put it in the comment section, and I will answer everything I can. See you next time.